Yo, what is up guys? It's the Phantom Armor coming to you guys with a new deck profile of Debris Beasts. That's what I'm calling this deck. It's essentially Ritual Beasts with a new double Debris. So, yeah, we're gonna get right into the profile. So, first things first, this deck loses pretty hard to Monarchs, so we play a lot of outs to Monarchs. It also loses pretty hard to Majesty's Fiend, so we're trying to play a lot more outs to that. We're playing, double Debris. First off, people used to play this card back when Tempest was a real thing. Then they stopped because Tempest was gone, and then you could no longer search this card. But with two copies, you essentially have the Tempest, except a weaker Tempest. But Debris Dragon is still really good because it can bring back your choice of Elder, Pedolphin, Laura, and make tons of synchros, which is, or overlay plays, which is really good. And then also the monsters you summon, you can use them for like the context view, which is really cool. So I think Debris is a really cool addition to this deck. Honestly, it just makes the deck more comebacky and stuff like that. Triple Conhawk, super important, obviously. Triple Rempengu. This guy's kind of worse now that we only have the one Conhawk, but I think he's still okay. Oh, my whole deck flew. We're playing double Apelio. So the reason we're playing 2 Apelio is, like, I didn't want to play 3, because now that, like, when I used to play this deck, Winda used to be a thing, or Chidal's more or less used to be a thing. So you'd play 3 sometimes just to run it over, but now there's only a point in playing 2, because it's the only one out of these 6 that can't enable a combo by itself. So, like, if you open Elder with... Pedolphin's pretty situational, but if you open Elder with Pedolphin, sometimes you can still make a combo play. Or with any of the other 6, you can still combo, but Apelio, he's the only one that needs a setup to be good. However, we're still playing 2 because he's still really good. Because sometimes you just need a... you just need to banish him and then special summon him. And sometimes if he goes to the graveyard, then you kind of lose. So you kind of just want him, you just kind of want the 2 copies. Plus 1 copy is kind of bad. Because a lot of the time when you have 1 copy, then the other... if the other copy gets banished, your effects are essentially... because he's honestly, in the mid-game, he's really not that optimal. So you'd rather just go for Rempengu and more likely Conhawk. So he's not that great in the mid-game, and if you banish the first copy, or have the first copy in the graveyard, often you can't get to the other copies. Where, like, Pedolphin, this card's just an out to everything. It's kind of the worst one, but, it works. So that's the 9 dudes. For the baby dudes, we play triple Elder, Wen, Laura, and then double Zephyra Palika. Sorry, I don't have the other one. It's because we play Oracle of Zephyra with the Terraforming Engine to get to it when we need it, obviously. And yeah, he's just another dude. There's no real logic behind it. And of course, with that rounds off our monster lineup. I don't want to play any hand traps because this deck could potentially break super hard when they have hand traps, and I don't want to have that possibility. For the field spell engine, we're playing this. This is pretty strong engine. Mainly, like, before we had chicken games, so obviously you could play 3 copies of this. But now you can't really play 3 copies. So essentially, you just want to get to Brain Research Lab, and Oracle of Zephyr is more of a late game card, but can also, like, if you open, like, this... you still have a combo play. You can just add the Oracle of Zephyr, activate it, then activate the Brain Research Lab on top of it. To this moment, there's like no better field spell to play but this one, but these 3. Checking game was like a really good one because you could just accelerate when you needed to. But I guess now it's okay without it. And yeah, obviously like Brain Research Lab like makes any tamer with Conhawk into Elder Conhawk. So yeah, that's why that card's pretty good. And also like if it survives past turn 1. You can make so many combo plays with this card, so that's one way to look at it. Double Chalice and then double Twin Twister. So these are for Monarchs mainly. Wait, gotta fold mine back. So mainly you want to play this. Twin Twister, of course, to hit the domain in a back row. Chalice, of course, to negate either Majesty's Fiend or set it turn 1 as another way to make your board better. Because it does happen a lot where your opponent's like, oh, I'll make Ignister, and you're like, haha, I got Chalice. And they're like, oh shit. And then lose. But either way, those are like the 4 cards. I use these 4 cards as out. I might try Book of Moon just because like it can book the monarchs and then they're no longer considered to be some monsters. But either way, I play these 4 because they're good when you're like they're good against most of the top decks right now, and also like against monarchs they're good going first and second, which is why these cards are honestly really cool. And like they're always good going first and second. Double Instant Fusion. Obviously, this card's incredible. Being able to just summon your dude back. Normally, you summon a Pelio and then activate its effect as cost, so that you can banish. And sometimes they'll put Dolphin out of your hand, but that's pretty situational. You gotta be pretty desperate for that one. And then finally, Bond, and then Upstart. Bond is just like an extra target search, and also it stops your opponent from being able to Valor you. And then also, Bond is like a cool card, because you can just make the guy a Pelio on OTK, so like half the time if you have 4 monsters on your field, with this card you already have game, no matter which way you go. So yeah. And of course the Upstart to make the deck 39 cards. So we're playing Triple Steeds, because Steeds doesn't target, and it's amazing for that reason. So why would you not play it? And then we're playing Double Ambush. I'm not playing 3, because it sucks to open if you don't have Kanahawk or Rampengu. It sucks to open in 2s, you just kind of want to search it. And if you draw one, that's pretty good, because then you can search Double Steeds. But on the contrary, like, this card is powerful when you open it with a Rampengu or Kanahawk, and sometimes Pedalfin. Like I said, Pedalfin's pretty situational. But outside of that, normally these 5, or these 2, don't do much. When you open, like, multiples, you open, like, one without Rampengu or Kanahawk, or, like, a combo or something. A lot of the time, they just don't do anything. So, that's a huge problem. Double Starlight Road. This is just to protect our back row. But if you didn't know, this deck likes to set a lot of back row. Even though we don't play that many traps, you're often searching 1. So 2 is pretty good. 1 to 2. You can. I don't think you can even get to 3 physically. So yeah. And then 1 Solemn Warning, and then 1 Macro. So of course Solemn Warning, because this is a really good card. I don't want to play Bottomless or anything because I wanted to just keep the most essential cards. And then Macro, of course, because the entire deck benefits off of it. I wasn't playing DeFi because that card is kind of trash. Yeah, it does help this deck a little bit, but honestly, it doesn't really. And I wanted a card that could, like, if this card did nothing this format, I wouldn't even play it at all, because I'd rather play a better card over it. But honestly, like, at this point, this card has actually done some great work. It's pretty good this format, because, like, you can be like, Steeds doesn't target Chain Macro to Cosmo, and they kind of just cry here. You can also do this to, like, Draco Pals, and their entire board gets banished, so, like, they lose the luster, they lose all the shit, which is also really good. And then alongside that, you can also just, like, against PK Fire, or BA, or whatever you're playing against, when they make the Dante, you just macro them, and they kind of just lose. Like, it's over at that point. So, moving on to the... It's exactly 40 cards, of course, because I'm playing Upstart. Moving on to the extra deck, we're playing Lonely Kanahawk. Also, it's still really good. Double Ulti Apelio. I couldn't play 3 of these even if I tried. I can't find the room for 3. It's just not possible. Pedalfin, 2 of these. I was gonna play 3 in 1, and then I was like, that's kind of bad. And I just wanted versatility, because often you can still OTK regardless if you don't have the 3rd, which is still really good. And then, of course, Ulti Pedalfin. This card's just amazing, just being able to make it in defense mode whenever you need a defensive board. And yeah, I just feel like this card is honestly pretty good, because if you make this against often if you make this against, what is it called, Cosmo, they can't beat you because they can't kill this past Cosmojo, which you can just chain this effect out, or what is it called, that deck, or no, sorry, that card, Dark Destroyer, because Dark Destroyer is like, or Dark Eclipser, because that card's big enough to run this over, but at that point you can just chain out. So this card is pretty good this format. And also, of course, you want to make one and banish one off of Pedalfin. Moving on, we play the double Ulti Guy Apelio. Through most of my testing, I have not made this card once. You don't make this card anymore. But still being able to banish to, send a Psychic is really good. As well as, like, also being able to summon it off Bond. Normally you don't make it manually unless, like, there's a situational case where you could. But outside of that, you don't ever really make it manually. Norden's really cool because it's good for instant fusion. We're only, of course, playing 1 because it's at 1, and I probably would only be playing 1 because the room in this extra deck is like nothing. I probably would be playing Panzer Dragon, but there's no room, and if your opponent max you in this deck, you kind of just lose anyways. And This is Samira, the dragon of her birth, and then we also have this guy. So either way, this card, what is so? It's like a level 5 dragon type. When it dies, it's monster reborn. Yeah, and that's kind of the point of it. I think it's like when it's destroyed by a card effect, you monster reborn, or you take some, you call the haunted out of your own graveyard. When it's destroyed by battle, it's like what is it called? The monster reborn, which is really good. And then red wyvern, of course, because we can only make dragons with I can't remember names today. Debris dragon, kind of the point of this deck. So like this card's really good because if you make it turn 1, you can often just lock him out, which is really cool. And also, this card can often, you can just make it, and it doesn't target, so you can just clear a Cosmos ship, which is absolutely amazing. And then finally, the Stardust, because Stardust is pretty good. And then for the XYZ dudes, I'm gonna play a couple just to out some stuff. Levier, I wanted one that would be, like, always good if you ever needed to make a ring 3. And this card is really good in OTK situations. Dollar, it's amazing. Why would you not play it? It's just, like, it's really good just to be able to, like, stun any deck that uses their graveyard out of the game. Because, essentially, you just make you can just make, this guy, Dweller, and you just run over whatever you want. And it's pretty good. Emerald. Emerald's pretty cool, too, just because, like, they can shuffle stuff back, and you want to shuffle back your what is it? Your Cunahawk, your Debris Dragons to keep going through the game. You want to shuffle back your Zephyr Palikas. They do hit grave quite a lot. So yeah, I just wanted something that could recycle Emerald, because I wasn't playing anything, or not recycle Emerald, this is Emerald. They could recycle Cunahawk, because there isn't much in this deck that can do that. And the final XYZ dude is Castel, because we need to out, mainly Royal Decree, this is what you want to out with this. Because even though you're like playing like 7 traps, that card hurts a lot. And then with this card, you also want to out, other floodgates like Imperial. Imperial's a really hard card for this deck to deal with. So like honestly, you just have to make the Castle and hope. Like a lot of the time when people like I go Cunahawk, they're like flip Imperial. I'm like shit. So I let it die and then I just instant fusion it back. And at that point, you're pretty solid. So yeah, that's about the deck. It's a pretty fun deck. I'd still say it's pretty cool. However, if you get striked, you're probably gonna lose. Either way, thank you all for watching. And yeah, that's the Phantom Armor. Signing out with Debris Beasts. I know, sexy name, right?